All right, welcome into our Arbella Early Edition. Trenni Casey here alongside our Patriots insider, Phil Perry. We also have from Boston Sports Journal, Greg Bedard. Saw a lot of Jayden Daniels there. So what is this developing opinion you have, Phil? Is it on the rise or cooling on Jayden Daniels?
I'm not cooling on Jayden Daniels, and I haven't spoken to anyone who has told me to cool on Jayden Daniels, and that's why I'm still feeling as though if there's one quarterback at the top of the draft, for the Patriots to invest in, it feels like it should be Jayden Daniels. Again, this is from what I've heard, and I spoke to a few people yesterday about Daniels himself, and they have been so impressed. League people have been so impressed by the leap he made from last year to this year. Obviously, he transferred to LSU last year from Arizona State, getting his feet wet, figuring out the system, figuring out his teammates. But after a full off season with those guys, and he had some great talent around him, Greg, he put up one of the most impressive statistical seasons we've ever seen in the toughest conference in college football. 90 explosive plays, 40 touchdowns against 4 picks. What he did against the level of competition that he did it against, the toughness that he showed, the leadership that I've been told he showed at LSU, it has really impressed people. And so if you're the Patriots, to me, you have to be praying that this guy falls to you at 3, and I'm not sure he will.
So my question for you is, are you afraid that it's a bit of a one-year wonder type of thing? I mean, look, he was good at Arizona State, but I don't think he was top of the draft good. Then all of a sudden he goes to LSU, surrounded by a bunch of talent, including a first-round wide receiver in Neighbors.
Maybe 2. He might have 2.
He might have 2, yep. And that sort of scares me a little bit. But there's no question that in terms of the talent, especially his deep passing, I don't know if I've seen a draft prospect with this much touch and accuracy deep down the field. And so just that, his athletic ability, you certainly see how the package appeals to people. But I do think there's a lot of legwork to do on these guys under the hood, starting with the combine, top 30 visits, about whether these guys are really the whole entire package.
He is far from perfect, Trenni. He's thin, number one, and he runs a lot. And so there's some question there as to whether or not he'd be able to stay healthy, because not only does he run a lot, but he is not afraid of contact. And I think he needs to smarten up, honestly, at the next level to make sure he stays healthy. I would also say he has some, in terms of processing, some hesitation behind the line. There's some questions about how quickly does he see it, but he does take care of the football, which is important to me. And the way one evaluator put it, Trenni, is this. If he makes a leap similar to the one that he made from 2022 to 2023, at any point in his pro career, you could be talking about one of the best quarterbacks in football. And that, to me, is what's worthy of a top 3 selection.
What it's making me think about is I remember when the Celtics had the number 3 pick and everybody was talking about Markelle Fultz, and it turns out Jason Tatum was the best player in that draft. Can you make that comp here? Could we be saying everybody's going Caleb Williams, but we're all talking about Jayden Daniels in a couple of years?
I think it's certainly possible, because there are plenty of questions about Caleb Williams' game too. I mean, he's a little bit undersized. There's a lot of questions that I know people that have followed college football in any way, shape, or form have about his ability to lead and how he'll handle adversity. The one thing I would say about Jayden Daniels, and Greg's point is a good one, one-year wonder. He's 23 years old. He's playing against a lot of guys that are in their teens and earlier 20s, and so there should be a separation there in terms of the skill that he's shown. Caleb Williams and Drake Maye both probably got a little worse from 2022 to 2023. Jayden Daniels did the opposite. That, to me, is something that I value. That, to me, shows me that he's working on his game and that he has worked to improve, and those are things that I think teams should value as well.
Well, Drake Maye, we talk about him as well, and there is, of course, a chance that Washington could feel the same way as Phil and pick Daniels second, which would leave Drake Maye available at 3. He is being compared to everyone from busts like Mitch Trubisky to Charger star Justin Herbert. Greg, which comparison is closer, do you think, if he's there? And if he is there, are you taking him at 3?
Boy, it's February. This is early for this stuff. I didn't know there was going to be a test on the NFL draft.
Is it Mitch
quarterbacks
Trubisky
right now
or Justin Herbert?
Need you to turn in the card right now.
Yeah, I'm more focused on free agency and all that. But look, from what I've seen out of Drake Maye, I think he is supremely talented. He reminds me a lot of Justin Herbert, including the same questions about his senior season or final season at Oregon. There are a lot of questions about Justin Herbert. That's the player that I see. I could certainly, all these guys are going to get picked apart over the next 3 months. But I don't know. I mean, that guy, it seems to be, to me, the total package.
Phil, you said something you said right off the top about Jayden Daniels. If he falls to the Patriots at 3, they should take him. What if he doesn't? Should they trade up to get him?
See, I don't know how that would work because everything that I've been told is that the Bears are going to be taking Caleb Williams at number 1. That is the league's assumption right now. And so now you're talking about trading up to maybe number 2 with Washington. If Washington is willing to trade out of the second spot, that to me tells me that they don't want a quarterback. Because if they wanted one, they would just sit there and take him at 2, right? So if they don't want a quarterback and they're willing to trade out of 2, why would you then jump up to 2 if that quarterback that you want isn't going to be taken at 2? Do you get what I'm saying?
But what if you think they are going to take? Would you go all the way up to 1?
The reason you would trade for 2 is that if Washington calls you and says, hey, listen, Minnesota's calling, and they're offering us the world for the 2nd overall pick, and they might want your guy. If you want to get to 2, here's what we're going to need from you. If that's the case, I would be willing to make the move 1 spot up if you think he's the guy. I might think he's the guy right now. I'm going to the Combine next week, Trenni. If I hear from league people, and it's a wider breadth of evaluators, and it's people that I trust, and they say, boy, Jayden Daniels, I don't know, red flags there, then, and maybe the Patriots feel that way, or we find out that they feel that way, then don't do it. Never force it, of course. But if it's 1 spot from 2 to 3, or from 3 to 2, excuse me, that's more than worth it to get the guy you think is the guy.
Well, everybody's asking about moving and shaking around the draft. NFL Network's Daniel Jeremiah answered draft questions from reporters around the country today. The hottest topic, what is it going to take to trade up with the Patriots for their number 3 pick?
For the Giants to get up to the 3rd pick, you're talking about the 6th overall pick this year. You're talking about your 2nd round pick, 39 this year, your second round pick this year at 47, and next year's 2. The Raiders go up to 3. So here's your cost for the Raiders to go up to 3. It would be the 13th overall pick. It would be your 1st round pick and 3rd round pick in 25 and your 1st round pick in 26. To get up to number 3, you're talking about the 11th pick, the 1st round pick in 25, and a 1st round pick in 26. So that would be the cost for them to get up to number 3 if you're the Minnesota Vikings.
That's all anybody wants to talk about, Greg. Everyone must love these quarterbacks, right? Like, why else can you gauge that anybody wants to get into the top 3?
Yeah, I mean, no question. I mean, there are a bunch of, every year we say this, there are a bunch of QB desperate teams, and they will do anything, including a lot of stupid things. So if you're the Patriots, that might play to your advantage.
If you don't love one of these guys, right? You have to be loving that conversation from Daniel Jeremiah if you're sitting at One Patriot Place right now and you've watched the tape and you've talked to a number of different sources who know these guys really well, and you know you don't love any of the 3. Well, then that is music to your ears, because what you should be doing then is trading down, stockpiling ammo, and figuring out, especially future ammo, so that you can move up maybe in 2025. Or if it has to be 2026, then 2026. If you push it too far down the line, you're looking at an irrelevant team for several years. That's not what anybody wants. But if you don't love the guy, you shouldn't force it there at 3, obviously.
What if somebody said pick swap 3 second-rounders? Is that enough for you to move down?
I think all of those 3 scenarios are intriguing. I would think long and hard about it, just because you would have a chance to get, correct me if I'm wrong, Phil, so they would move down, they would get, and the Patriots would still have their 2nd round pick. So they would have
Number 6, 3 seconds.
3
and
seconds, all in the top 50. You have a chance to get 4 starters in one offseason. Man, it would be really tempting. I'd have to think long and hard about that.
And the 2nd round there are teams that really value it, because the hit rate in the 2nd round isn't all that different from, for instance, the back half of the 1st round. So everybody, when we're talking about these things, future first or this year's first, where is that first? If it's 20 to 40, it might not be all that different in terms of hit rate from 40 to 55.
And another thing to keep in mind about this draft, everyone that I've talked to is saying day 3 is garbage this year because of COVID, because of NIL. Like, they've had a lot fewer numbers of underclassmen. So a lot of people are saying get out of day 3. So you want to focus on the top half of this draft.
Felt like the same was true last year. You saw specialists flying off the board early, especially here.
I don't know if that's going to happen again. All right.